presenting today on Acumatica, which is an ERP. As many of you know, Link provides quite a few solutions, and while we have expertise in many of those, we unfortunately cannot be experts in all, and so we rely on strategic partners like our friends over at Empower Business Solutions to provide things like ERP. So it is my pleasure today to introduce Mr. Joe Hassan to talk to you guys about the Acumatica ERP. I'm going to hand it over to you, Joe.
All right, thanks, Mike. My screen visible?
It is.
Cool. That's a positive. Um, we're going to go through some slides here. I'm going to go over the agenda. I'm going to do a piece that is about 20 minutes. Why? I can't get this thing to move forward. Okay. Now, way ahead. I apologize. Okay. There we go. Sorry. Today's agenda. My space bar was pausing there. I'm going to give you an interview of what my company does, what we've been doing for over 30 years. I'm going to give you a brief overview of Acumatica in this PowerPoint. I'm going to give you an Acumatica demo, and then one of our partners, Trail ID, is going to give you a demo of automation capabilities and AP automation capabilities and a lot more inside Acumatica. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So about my company, I'm the owner of the company. We've been doing this since 1990. My degree's in finance. I worked in public accounting, went out on my own. Anybody that's old enough on this thing to remember Peachtree, that's how I started out. Then we graduated up to Pool. We had a Great Plains practice for about 15, 18 years. In 2014, I divested myself from Great Plains because there's no roadmap of Great Plains, and got ourselves involved in Acumatica. And the reason we got involved in Acumatica was the writing was on the wall that people wanted to run a fully functional ERP in a browser on any device, whether it's an Android device, an iPhone device, it's a MacBook, it's a Chromebook, it's a Windows laptop, that you could run the application on any device with any browser. So since '89, we've probably done over 200 implementations. 80% of our clients are within 3-4 hours tops of Altoona, Pennsylvania. Most of our clients want on-site presence. They're small to medium-sized businesses that very difficult for them to do a complete remote implementation because they just don't have the team and the manpower to be able to roll out a fully functional ERP package on their own. So that's 90% of our clients, if not higher, require some on-site presence and implementation assistance going forward. I already got into my background, kind of. That's me. Again, my degree, I had a CPA license that no longer exists. I have a degree in finance. I still am actively involved in all projects. Most client interfaces interface with me and my team from that standpoint. And our whole goal is to make you a better business. If we can't make you a better business, then we shouldn't be deploying an ERP system. There has to be business justification, ROI, whatever term that you would like to use in any implementation that we get involved in, or we shouldn't implement ERP because it's a cool idea. Some of our partners, again, everybody we approach, we want 5-star reviews. If we don't think we can be 5-star reviews in an implementation, we won't do the implementation. All the stars have to be aligned. So these are some of our clients. Some of them are local. Some of them are pretty big, customers in various types of businesses, distribution, manufacturing, contractors, construction, etc. That just doesn't happen to be the quotes, but we're proud of some of those quotes because most companies around here know who those folks are that are on that particular quote screen. The other thing that's key to us is being just like Link does, Link themselves. We want to be your trusted business software advisor. We don't want to just be your support 1-800 help me. We want to be more than that. We want to be a trusted business software advisor, and that is a prerequisite for us, with our clients, besides that we implement Acumatica ERP. The different industries that we serve, manufacturing, wholesale, distribution, kind of the same thing. And the construction, there's other verticals that Acumatica has that we'll discuss here briefly, but our thrust and knowledge and experience is in those sectors that are on that screen. And we do have a couple clients that are just pure financials, but for the most part, that's who we deal with, the type of customers that we deal with. We do consulting, some clients, we help them build the roadmap out. Besides, we're not just a help desk. We want to be a valued partner in our implementations up front. We define what the goals of the project are. What is the business outcomes in terms of ROI? Because when we come out the other end of the implementation, I want to be able to say, here's what we wanted to achieve, this, and this. And did we achieve it or not? And the whole way through the project, there's probably 5, maybe 10 things tops in a phase 1 deployment that would be the definition of ROI to me, business outcome of deployment. We have support packs. There's other ways to do support as well. They're not on here. We define a roadmap with our customers because we believe in the philosophy of implementation, crawl, walk, run. You may not be able to boil the whole ocean up front, but we want rapid results as quickly as we can get them. So we like to use the words land and expand as we move through the ERP project. Overview of Acumatica, but kind of briefly, it was built back in 2007, 2008 on modern technology. The owners of Acumatica didn't just decide one day they were going to write an ERP package. Those people came from different packages. Some of them were Sage people. Some of them were other different ERPs, but they had ERP background and understood that the world was going to a cloud and that the older legacy applications, such as the Great Plains, is not built for modern business, digital transformation, because of various reasons, most of that being the architecture. Acumatica was built for rapid integrations, which is one of the reasons Brad and his team, that there's different verticals. There's no ERP package out there that can be everything to all people. And so Acumatica, with its open architecture and its open APIs and the platform itself, enable people that have best of breed applications, like one of the ones Brad's going to show, to rapidly integrate with Acumatica directly in order to provide, vertical solutions outside of Acumatica that meet a customer's needs. You don't have to RDP, you type HTTPS, and it's future-proof. Future-proof being that Acumatica's architecture is built for the cloud. It's built to be in the cloud. But we have customers that house it locally, but it's still HTTPS and log in. Some of the rewards, I'm going to go through them. Acumatica, I'm proud of the fact that they get a lot of rewards, independent rewards, not things that they designed themselves. And these things are all recent things that are on that screen. that the customer satisfaction and usability is a high degree. We hear a lot from customers. What's the user interface look like? Which you'll see here in a minute. Usability, it's ranked up there high with Gartner. That's critical to bring on users onto the system. The customer satisfaction bar, high up the pole and a momentum leader in terms of satisfaction. Acumatica is very progressive in the sense that they'll send out surveys to my customers, everybody's customers for that matter, not just mine, and take surveys on, their, what they think of their Acumatica, etc., to get feedback from customers. Acumatica scores high on all these promotional scores. The customer growth is rapid. When I started with them, they had a few hundred customers. Now they have 12,000 plus. 12,000 plus customers now. When I started, there was several hundred, if something along those lines. The key that part of this demo is future proof. It's all about the technology to me under the hood and the platform itself. This is absolutely critical to future proof of a company, because nobody wants to change their ERP every 5 years. So part of the reason that we stuck with Acumatica was the technological stack. Underneath it, on top is your business applications. On the bottom is let's just solve the plumbing. And in that is that standard C#. That's standard SQL, but you could use MySQL, and those type of things that they're going to .NET Core, which that'll enable you to run this potentially on a Linux box, Acumatica. But the underlying technology and customization is C#, .NET, standard stuff that most programmers, you can find that are available, such as we have programmers as well, but it's not some proprietary programming language that Acumatica is written in underneath. This is one slide. I'm going to show you one that's more embedded applications, but there's a lot more that I'm going to show on another slide. What does this mean? This means all this stuff is embedded inside Acumatica, that you connect to various things like DocuSign, and I'll show you some other things, the e-commerce platforms that it connects to. Those connectors exist, etc. Modern security, it's enterprise grade security. I've had lots of customers that get audited by their auditing firm, and we have to produce various things, especially in medical and some other places, that we have to produce certificates, and Mike probably knows what they are as well, that we have to provide to show their auditors that they're in compliance with security. Out of the box, you get 250, 300 reports. You can use Power BI. You can tap the Power Tableau. You can connect directly to Acumatica data via Excel, not cut and paste necessarily. All of that is out of the box type stuff. BI and analytics. Device we already alluded to a little bit. I can run this on any device, phone, iPad, Android, Chromebook, MacBook, Windows, whatever variety of devices that you have. There's no client install on the client end. It's pure browser. So it'll run on anything with any browser that you prefer. Okay, here's a more ecosystem. This is probably outdated the date it was put out, but these are some of the various integrations to the ecosystem, because Acumatica is an open API, so you can rapidly communicate to and from Acumatica with, not with standard API calls to and from. Some of these are embedded inside the framework, other ones aren't, but they directly communicate, and there's various things. We have lots of customers that use DocuSign. We have lots of customers that integrate to FedEx, UPS, USPS out of the box. those type of things. And I'm not going to go over everything that's on there, but the purpose of this side is no ERP package can be everything to all people. So Acumatica, with its open architecture, provides the ability for a client to get the best of breed application that meets a particular business function and connect it to Acumatica. So, and we brought up some of this again is the general business edition. Let's just consider that financials, GL, bank rec, AP, AR, payroll, possibly, etc. That's general business. Construction edition, geared for construction type companies, whether you're a general contractor, whether you're a specialty contractor, but you're a contractor. Distribution companies built for distribution. Manufacturing's built for manufacturing, and retail's built for customers that do a lot of omni-channel. They have a brick and mortar store. They got storefronts on Shopify. They got Amazon, and all these things are connected to Acumatica to and from. And we have clients that mix and match this. The beauty of Acumatica is if I have a construction company, but I also have a manufacturing company, I can have that all in the same piece of software instead of, well, I got to buy my construction software and I bought a manufacturer now. I got to go buy a manufacturing product, even though it's the same company or another company within the umbrella. Acumatica is multi-company, multi-different types of companies within the same instance. So that's a big thing. General business, I alluded to, that's accounting. I'm not going to go into everything that's on here. If we can take a deeper dive with you. If anybody wants to take a deeper dive offline, we'll be happy to do that. The general distribution, again, is built for distribution companies. They don't make anything. They distribute things, whether that's connected to e-commerce sites or not, then it's just a distribution company. Manufacturing is if you make things, both discrete and non-discrete. You could be a process manufacturer. There's verticals for that. That's different than a discrete manufacturer that's doing basically assemblies. But Acumatica can accommodate either type, discrete, non-discrete. There's shop floor data collection, planning and scheduling, all those things that would make up a manufacturing company. Construction edition is built for contractors, subcontractors, specialty contractors. You're doing, project management out in the field. You got field reports. You want to see pictures and put cameras up at the job site and have those feeds connected back to Acumatica on the screen. You can see what's going on a job site. The e-commerce edition, again, is an omni-channel company. They have brick and mortar, but they have storefronts on the various platforms. Acumatica has native integration to Magento, BigCommerce, and Shopify. And the other one that's not up there is Amazon. Both as Amazon fulfills your orders, as well as you fulfill orders coming from Amazon. The SOC compliancy, that's more of a link thing but Acumatica is SOC compliant. So we I brought up briefly about the auditing and whatnot that happens. Okay, there's a couple layers of support. There's partner support, Acumatica support, and we have customers that mix and match because they potentially are open 7/24, and after 5 o'clock on Friday, Joe's team is on weekend, and Acumatica has 24/7 support if you need it for certain customers. Free training, what does that mean? Acumatica, everybody that has an Acumatica license has the ability to log into Acumatica training. We really like to do this. And you can take various course loads, whether you're the AP person, you're the AR person, you're the warehouse manager and whatnot. There's learning paths for those that they'll take you through videos and whatnot that will get you basic understanding of the modules. Then we have a lot of clients that'll do that. Then we'll come in and we'll discuss, AP. and they'll have questions after they've taken the videos. But that's free. You get that with your license. You get access to Acumatica University. Okay, now we're going to go to the product demo, and then I'm going to go through. I already over 5 minutes, but I'll take you to an Acumatica screen, and I hope everybody can see my Acumatica at this point. Is that a yes?
Good here.
All right, thanks, Eli. So right off the get-go, Acumatica, I opened this up into a dashboard. There's various dashboards. I just made this my homepage, but I don't have time to take a deep dive, but I'm going to go over some interesting things that are going on up here. Okay. I brought up earlier, Acumatica is multi-company. So this particular set of data has a roll-up company called Capital Revision 2 Capital that has two companies underneath it, products and services, and there's 4 branches within each of those companies. So out of the box, I believe Acumatica's licensing gives you 3 companies, but if you have 5, you have 10, there's add-ons that can get that, okay? And they can all be different things, like I was bringing up. One's a manufacturer, one's a construction company, one's a distribution company. Okay. I'm already logged in, but some of the things that I could allude to, I could have 2-factor authentication going on. If I so desire, I can tie this to, or we can tie this to your, oh boy, your Windows Active Directory. All that can be done. Up here, I got a search bar. It's a universal search. So that's just type taxes. And what that'll do, based on what you type up there, it'll go find anything in the database, whether it's a menu, a transaction, a help topic, or a file that contains the word taxes in it. That's universal search. You can type anything you want up there, and it'll go find in the database something that pertains to that. The other thing up here, I have favorites. I'll show you what that means. Similar to favorites, your favorites bar in your browser. I could have certain menu choices in Acumatica that I don't want to go to the modules and look at them, but I want to, put them as my favorites. Okay. I'm not going to go over every one of these, but this is all manufacturing stuff. This is inventory planning. These are what Acumatica calls workspaces. And I don't even have all the modules all the different modules. I'm in here as admin. I'm in a test company. I have access to every piece of software module that Acumatica has. And then you just pin them to your bar up here. So finance is your ledger stuff. Banking is your banking, your cash, your reconciliation, your payment methods, those things. Projects more geared for like don't know why it's not. There you go. That's like a construction company, or you're project centric and you're tracking costs and whatnot of a project. Payables, basically payables. Receivables is receivables. Customers. I don't have time to go through all these. The other thing, and I apologize, these towels up here, they're towels. They can be customized. So maybe you don't call the thing new invoice. You call it enter invoice, because that's your company terminology to enter an invoice. You can change the name of those towels to say enter invoice. You can make them the name or naming convention that makes sense to your company. And that's not a programmer thing. That is potentially an end user could do, and change those towels and make new towels and all those things across the top. Sales order is sales order. Basically sales order entry, I enter orders, etc. Purchases, again, purchasing, I got inventory. I'll actually go in real quick here. I'll bring up this computer. Okay, this is a basic inventory screen. I got a part number up here. I got various classifications of this item. It's a manufactured item. It could live in multiple warehouses. Acumatica will let you have as many warehouses as you have. This here's vendors. This is who I buy it from, etc. All across the top here. Okay, that's what a screen looks like for a part number. I'm not going to get into much the marketing. There's CRM baked in terms of tracking leads, tracking opportunities, making quotes, revisions to quotes, etc. Inside Acumatica. There's out of the box various dashboards that I kind of showed you. The one I logged into, they're completely customizable. Um, as far as your role is, they give you so many out of the box. And then there's more items. And then there's the taxes. Again, I'm going to tie this up and pass this to Brad. And Brad can take off on his vertical. I didn't leave you too much, Brad. Sorry about that. That's a customer screen, financial, billing, shipping, locations, etc. That's a customer screen. At this point, that is the 30,000 foot of Acumatica. Again, anybody that wants a deeper dive, we can take a deeper dive. At this point, there's a mobile app I was going to show that lies on my phone, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. But there's a mobile app. You download it from Google and you can log in and, connect it to Acumatica with a mobile app. So at this point, Brad, I'm not sure if my friends from Link have to pass you as the presenter, but I am finished.
Hey guys, thanks Joe. Thanks for that walkthrough. Appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and try to share my screen here. I think I should be able to. And just let me know if you guys can see it. I'll give it one more try here. Can you guys see my screen?
You're up, Brad.
All good.
Cool, so you guys can hear me, you guys can see my screen. Awesome. So I'm Brad March, a solutions engineer and architect here with Trailed Automation here. I just kind of wanted to start kind of with a little bit of an overview of just who Trailed is, what we do. And then we can jump into a little bit of the product, and I'll go over a little bit of the just an overview of the product. So Trailed is a AP automation platform designed kind of with two specific things in mind, right? AP efficiency and financial control. So basically, how can we kind of help your business streamline automation while keeping the visibility and safeguards, that we need in place to keep against invoice fraud, supplier errors and mistakes, and things of that nature that really cause and throw a wrench into the AP system. So that's just kind of the solution overview in words, kind of how we do things, but who we are at Trailed. So Trailed was kind of born out of the need for a business, right? So actually our owners and co-founders had an agricultural business who lost close to $500,000 in email fraud on the AP side just from invoice fraud, right? So they had a need there, and they were on Acumatica as well. So they had a need, and they looked through the solutions that were available and didn't find anything that was working for them. So they built it out themselves, right? So they need that visibility to control the AP process, but also efficiency to help keep the business flowing. So really just hands-on from the very bottom to the very top of building this out. They've been involved in the AP process as far as keeping things automated, but keeping things as safe and functional and visible as possible. Just a little bit of our demo agenda. Can you guys see the demo agenda as well? We're going to start with kind of like a walkthrough of the demonstration here, but I'm going to do a little bit of the Trailed AP automation and functionality workflow. Take a look at how the actual product works. Then we're going to take a look at some workflow approvals and exception management. How do we actually hone in on those things that we need to spend time on? And then finally, we'll just take a look at, exporting out to Acumatica, how we do our payment review and how the suppliers get verified and how we take a look at the suppliers themselves. Cool. So now you all should be seeing my trailed in tray here. And kind of what the trailed in tray is the top of funnel for everything AP concerned once it's connected with Acumatica. So the first thing that I'll kind of go over is how do we get invoices into the system? There's really kind of three main ways that we get invoices into the system. The most common way is obviously connecting an AP inbox that the company already has set up. We can also set up at trailed.com email addresses so that specific suppliers can just send emails, forward them into those inboxes and get them into the system as well. Or you could drag and drop or upload your files like I will do here just for the sake of this demonstration, whether it be PDF or JPEG or PNG. I'll go ahead and select a handful of invoices here and upload them. So as we're uploading these, you'll see it start to work through each one of these files. It depends on how many pages, how in depth the actual file is. It takes a couple of seconds per file, depending on the size of it. But what it's doing is it's running it through our classification engine, and it's pulling out all the relevant information and data points off of each one of the documents. And you'll see it here in my in tray. If I close this out here and just click into my invoices again, you'll see them start to come in here, land inside the in tray as the most recent invoices here that are processing. It takes just a couple seconds to a minute here for them to work their way in. But you'll see that as they load in here, and I will refresh it here, they landed in a draft state. Well, it's also pulled off information like the invoice number if one is relevant, or the PO number if one is relevant. And also you'll see this piece of paper kind of here on the side, which is a receipt that says there's a receipt in Acumatica that's available for this actual PO number. But it's pulled in all the relevant information like the ERP supplier, the branch, the assignee, right? So running through the classification and data extraction engine, we're pulling that off, all that information off, and kind of landing it here in the tray so we can classify it. If I click down to my first example here, I'll just show you a little bit of how it actually works. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see our original document that we got in from Ozone Organics here. And this is just for context, right? So we have our original document here to the left. We can download the invoice. We can upload any kind of additional information, whether it be a PDF or an Excel or a Word document, or even a text or a chat form, right, about this invoice to go along with this original document as it gets pushed through Trailed and as it gets pushed into Acumatica, and it will stay attached to the document through the process. You'll see over here on the right-hand side, we have our kind of our header level information, invoice information, supplier information, and pricing information here at the top. We have our goods box down here, which is related to the three-way, the matching and the receipt matching here, the PO lookup. And then we have our activities log and our general information as far as GL coding, sub-accounts, and who the actual assignee is. I'll just go through this really quickly to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how this works. So each one of these columns, right? Excuse me, each one of these spots here, the invoice number here has been classified by the OCR and the machine learning behind the software. So each one of these selectable areas inside of Trailed here, you can actually train to learn how your suppliers work inside of your company, right? So each one of these has been pulled off and classified. You can see the red box on the left-hand side jumping around the screen there as we jump through. Each one has been characterized and put in its proper place. It's pulled through the PO number, the invoice number, the due date, if it's applicable. If there's payment terms in Acumatica you have set up, it'll just ignore those and apply the payment terms. But the most important thing is with the machine learning, this total here, so say it's on the total, right? And I want to pay on the total amount due. And it's selected the total amount, but I want to train it with this supplier to always pay on the amount due. the machine learning actually gives me the ability to scroll down and find that field. Excuse me, let me just find it here, and select it. And that's going to train and populate the system for this specific supplier with how you work with them to pay on that field inside the invoice every time following up. Off the rip, the first invoice you get in from a supplier, the accuracy of the OCR and the machine learning populating the fields is about 87 to 88%. By the second one, it's about 99%. Not everything can be 100% perfect, but it's just about as close as you could get. So what is the OCR and the machine learning actually looking for on a security basis, right? So if you were to get a what looked like a normal invoice here from a normal supplier of yours in, but some information had changed, maybe let's say that it came from a suspicious location, or some information had changed as far as what it's pulling off information wise off the document. You can see it's giving me a couple warnings here, some payment details not detected and some payment detail problems, right? So basically it's telling me here that the information that we have in our master data inside of Acumatica, inside of our ERP, that we're comparing with the document that we've got in this original document, that there's some payment detail problems, right? That there's either an address change, or there's maybe some, as far as the ACH account or details that we paid previously have changed. Someone's changed something, or some detail has changed on the document. So it's warning us of a problem that we need to address here. So it's not just looking for things like address change or payment details, but it's also looking for purchase price variances, all sorts of different errors that can appear, and I'll show you a little bit of that in just a second here. So that's kind of some of the header level detail here. Going down to the goods portion, you can see I have this number 3 here, and basically what this means is this is a live lookup into Acumatica. This is saying that I have 3 receipts in Acumatica related to this purchase order that's pulled off of the invoice with the OCR. And with just a click of a button, I can pull those lines, right? With the receipt, I can pull in the description, the quantity, the unit cost, all the associated branch and GL and subaccount, and even project and project tasks, excuse me, if necessary, right? And this is pulling it just with a click of a button in off of the invoice and the receipts and matching them together here. Now, if there was it's also checking for variances here in price off the line level. So if there was a change in price, so let's say this was for $3,200 instead of $2,200, and there was a purchase price variance here, it would give us this variance of $1,000. So it's also looking for variances inside of the actual line level from when the PO was raised to when you actually receipted it. Go ahead and just change that back here. So say there was something wrong with this activities wise, I just want to mention here in the activities, I could leave a comment here and tag somebody that's more senior than I am and say, hey, there's an issue with this. Can you please address this, or send it back to the PO owner who raised the PO? But everything looks good on this one right now. So after looking through a little bit of it, there's no purchase price variance. We have our lines in, all the coding is correct. I'm going to go ahead and submit this. So you've seen that I've submitted it. It jumps here into the top of the queue here with a low risk warning, and you'll see that the status is already auto approved. Now I have auto approved set up, so if it does a 3-way match, right, with the purchase receipt on a PO, that it auto approves, and we can auto set up a export into Acumatica, because we've already checked everything from a security standpoint. It's already been checked on the 3-way match, so no sense in touching it again. It's going to auto approve and go out into Acumatica, right? So that's on with a PO, right? So if you don't have a PO, let's take a look at this Avis invoice here, which has no PO, as you can see. So there's no PO number being pulled in off of the actual invoice here. You have seen that it has pulled in the branch and the ERP supplier. But something that's interesting about this invoice, and a great tool here inside of Trailed, is that you can see that there's 3 pages here, and it's actually 3 separate invoices for 3 separate rental cars here from Avis, right? So with this click of a button down here, we can actually split the invoice at the document level, instead of having to have somebody, split them up and upload them individually, we can receive it in and actually ask Trail to split it. We can set this up automated as well, so I don't have to actually hit this split document button. As it comes in, it could recognize it and split it as well. But with a click of a button here, it's going to split up these invoices into 3 different invoices. It's actually going to process them and push them back through into the in-tray to land as individual invoices. So if I just click back, you'll see them start to process here. And as they come in, they'll have individual prices and individual assignees depending on who's actually assigned to that invoice. So that's a little bit about the process of how to get them in and the workflow of kind of working through a couple of the different invoices and submitting some. I know we're kind of short on time, so I'll jump into the approval process here. So once we upload them, right, and we push them through our workflow, and we actually get them submitted, how do we pay attention to the things that actually need to be paid attention to? So up here, you actually see this waiting on me button. And if I click into that, you'll see that I have a invoice that's pending review here, and it's actually a high risk invoice. So definitely need to be paying attention to this invoice from Kingfisher Electric, right? So I'll go ahead and click into this, and we'll just review it real quick. So this is some more of the security information, just as far as letting you guys know what's behind the platform, looking for problems here. So payment details not detected. So it's telling me from the ERP standpoint what I have in my ERP master data is not lining up with what we have from the invoice that's coming in. But also an excess of ERP supplier maximum, right? So the total invoice here is for about 3,000. You can see that our normal supplier average over the last 12 months was about $1,300. So this is a huge bump in what we normally pay the supplier. So it's flagging it and giving us this high risk between these couple different problems, the payment details detected, and also the excess supplier maximum, right? So kind of a way to think about this, if you guys have corporate credit cards or even private credit cards, is whether you know it or not, there's always on AI behind the credit card. So if your credit card gets stolen and at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's a swipe in Vancouver, at a gas station, it's going to automatically alert you and say, hey, listen, this is a suspicious charge. Do you want to approve it, or do you want to suspend the card? And that's just on credit cards that we spend, hundreds of dollars at a time. But when it comes to the AP space, where you're processing hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars through the AP platform, there really wasn't anything like that. So this is what we've embedded in, is that same level of AP always on monitoring, where as something comes in and it's digested through the system, it's looking for these payment detail changes, these excess charges, the purchase price variances, things like that, behind the actual invoice. So I can see that this is a problem. I can see here, and maybe even in the chat, that there's someone left some notes here that there's a rejection on April 1st for this reason, incorrect price, right? So I could go ahead and reject this actual invoice, which I will do here. You could give it for multiple reasons: goods not received, incorrect pricing, or I could just click other and leave a note as far as how I want to reject it. But we'll go ahead and put incorrect pricing here and go ahead and reject that. So a little bit of the workflow, being able to review things from a warning level and being able to pay attention to what needs to be paid attention to. This is kind of the life cycle, the drafts, the pending, the approved, as far as where invoices are in that actual status. But as far as approvals go, we have the ability to build out rules here inside of Trailed. So you can see I have one built out here for over 100,000, and it equals this specific client over greater than 100,000. And the first supplier is going to be Brad, and the second supplier is going to be Adam or Shrada. But you can go ahead and create these by branch if you want to. We can add conditions, whether it be field, whether it be a GL code or project or sub account, whatever it may be, and add different operators and different levels as well. We can add several levels, as many levels basically as you want to build in. So if I just jump back into my invoices here. So once we've got the invoices in, we've worked through the system, submitted them, we've reviewed the ones that we need to review that are an issue, that there's something wrong with, or possibly have a risk, we need to export them out. So if I go into my approved column, which is where most people will spend their time exporting from, I could individually, or I could batch export if I want to select all, or I could go through and select the ones that I want to and go ahead and export into Acumatica, right? So what does that look like after we actually export into Acumatica? Let me just drag my my screen down here. Apologies for jumping into a different window here. Can everybody see my Acumatica screen now? Nobody says no, then I'll assume it's a yes.
You're all good, Brad.
So just jumping into Acumatica, this bills and adjustments screen, which depending on even other ERPs should be somewhat familiar to people. We can see that the invoices that have been pushed in from Trailed into Acumatica have landed in open release state here. We pulled a couple custom fields in here, which is the Trailed risk score, the risk score that was attached to the actual invoice, and the approver name of who approved it inside of Trailed as well, and the description here. But it's also dragged through any kind of documentation too. So whether it be the original document for context sake that's attached, or even excuse me for a second, even in the paper, if there's some activity log, the activity logs that we were just talking about, where you could post some chat about problems with something or someone needing to address something, even any of the attachments that were attached in the document originally that got pushed through, you'll find here as well. If I go ahead and just jump into a invoice here, I think it was 93. One with a PO. I just want to show you an example of one that has a PO here. This one for Beta Airlines, you can see that it was a low risk score, so it auto approved, which we talked about automatically just approving because it has that three-way match with a PO, and got pushed through into Acumatica here. If I go ahead and drill down into this, we'll see that everything has kind of been tied together after having been pulled in, classified, been reviewed and submitted, and then been approved in Trailed. It's pushed it through. It's automatically put in all of the manual portions that you'd have to put in, your supplier, your terms, all these different bill informations here. It's also connected a inventory ID even down to the stock item, non-stock item portion of things. But if I scroll all the way over here, you can see it's also tied in and attached the PO number, and the actual PO receipt as well, with live links here. So if I click down into the PO here, hopefully you guys can see this. I may have to make it a little bit bigger for you. If I open up the PO here, you can see that it's closed out the purchase order, and has all the actual relevant coded, and it's actually receipted and attached the receipt to the actual billing process. So just from a a bills portion, right? It's pulled it in, it's kept everything attached to it, actually is coded all the relevant trailed information. It's filled out everything that would have been a manual process as far as getting a bill into Acumatica. It's actually what go ahead and closed out the purchase order because it's fulfilled it. So just from a bills point of view, it's done all the automation portions that are really like the manual processes, and fulfilled it from that point of view. So that's the Acumatica side. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into my Trailed side. So we've exported out to Acumatica. The bill's now in Acumatica. We've gone through that and just taken a little bit of look at the attachments there and how it closes out the purchase order if there's one related once it has the receipt, right? So now just kind of a little bit of a chat, just a little look at suppliers here and payments. So once the payment is actually pushed through in Acumatica, you have to forgive me for my demo data here. It's not the greatest. We're moving demo sites, but we have this payment screen where you can if you have the access and the ability to, you can come in and review the batch payment screen, and look at things like the file name that's attached from Acumatica, the payment value, right? If there was a warning attached, the status, the uploader, and even drill down into these and see the multiple different payments for each supplier. And once again, forgive me for the database, but different trends and history and payment months, a bunch of just information here for us to be able to drill down into, to have some visibility after it actually goes through the payment screen in Acumatica. So a little bit about suppliers just too. So you can see some of the suppliers were unverified in the last screen or verified. In the onboarding process with Trail goes through their own supplier verification process through a whole bunch of government checks, looking for online footprints and how other users and other Trail users use and pay this supplier on the onboarding, how they react to it. It's looking through all these different processes and all these different data points to verify the supplier in the onboarding process. If something is unverified, there is the ability to self-verify here, and it'll go ahead and tag whoever the verification person was, so that there's some accountability there. But that's just a quick overview. I know we're kind of running short on time. I apologize for taking up a little bit more time than I probably should have. I just kind of wanted to get into that last supplier portion, but we've taken a quick look at how we get the invoices in, how we go through them and submit them, how we review the ones we need to go through, how we export them out to Acumatica, a little bit of going through the portions of Acumatica, being able to review the payments in batch once it has gone through the payment process in Acumatica, and then just a little bit of the supplier information, and being able to look up different suppliers and drill down into each one of them as needed. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back. And I think this puts us into our Q&A, if I'm correct, Mark or Joe. I'm not sure who I'm passing it back to here.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. Thank you, Joe and Brad, for your expertise. We're opening this up to Q&A now. Joe, we do have a few questions in the chat at this point. First question is, what's the average timeline for a company transitioning away from a legacy platform like AS400?
No one size fit all. But it depends on the situation. Any ERP package that you're going to implement, and you're coming from something old to something new, the decision has to be made on which affects the timeline, which I believe is what you're asking me, is that what legacy data has to be brought across into the new system. And that is a big factor in the timeline. If it's just vendors, customers, items, and things along those lines, that's different than somebody wants all their transactional data out of their legacy system for the last 22 years. That's a completely different thing. So again, I'd say the timeline averages, depending on the complexity of the situation, anywhere from minimum 6 months, 12 months time frame. And again, there's other variables that I just described that would go into that time, that would affect that timeline.
This is another one I think for you. What are next steps for a company transitioning away from QuickBooks? Is there a roadmap for the transition?
The good thing part of the QuickBooks move, there's not a lot of data in QuickBooks, back to my first answer. Okay. So the transition from QuickBooks to Acumatica, you're not transferring a lot of transactional data because QuickBooks just doesn't have it. And there again, depending on the situation, about 60% of our clients are QuickBooks, have outgrown QuickBooks. They typically have spreadsheets to do this all over the place that are actually doing business processes. So Acumatica, again, being a fully functional ERP package, is to bring all those under Acumatica's roof. So the roadmap would be, again, in the discovery would be, lots of times I get into QuickBooks that the whole chart of accounts needs redone. And the vendors, customers may be good, may be bad, but the first thing of anything we do is discovery.
Hey, Joe, I do have a question. So within your presentation, I know you had talked about some of the core industry verticals that you work with, but Acumatica is present really in just about every industry out there. do you guys at Empower, do you stray much from those 4 core industry verticals?
Yeah, it depends on, there's only a couple other things that possibly would happen, but your answer would be yes. And the other thing that Acumatica does too, if we had to, is again, we'd bring in expertise from Acumatica if we just so desired. That for that, if we felt that we needed assistance.
Let's see any other questions coming in. Do you, I guess for those of you who are interested in the Acumatica solution, you can reach out to the folks here at Link, and we can connect you. You can reach out to your account manager here.
There's another question, Mike.
Let's see another question. Oh, here we go. Can a statistical analysis package such as Minitab be used in the manufacturing platform?
Because of Acumatica's open architecture, my answer to that would be yes. As long as Minitab, which I'm familiar with in State College, outputs, it can be a two-way street up and back. Depend again, Acumatica being a modern platform, we can integrate it to anything. If that's John, if that answers your question, John.
Yes, thank you from John.
Now throw this at you, John. I'm sorry. In that manufacturing module, again, you can bring in demand planning and forecasting and whatnot from other sources. So again, because of the open architecture, it's wide open. It's open API calls.
Thanks, Joe. I kind of got ahead of us there. If does anybody have any other questions for Joe or Brad? Going once, going twice. All right.
Oh.
How about on the panelist side? Does anybody else have anything they want to contribute?
No, well, thank you, Brad.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending, and thanks to our panelists again for the presentation. And as I was stating before, if there is interest in Acumatica or exploring this further, even if it's just a discovery call, feel free to reach out to your account manager here at Link, and we'll get you connected and get you moving down that path. Nothing else. We'll go ahead and end this, and thank you again.
Thank you, Mike.
Enjoy the rest of your days, everyone.